Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Obsessive Compulsive Gaming. I am the Obsessive Compulsive Gamer, and today we're going to be reacting to a couple of reviews for Silent Hill F, a game I have very much been looking forward to. And unless you've been living under a rock, which is buried under the sea, which is probably located close to the center of the earth, you'll know that Silent Hill F releases this very week. In fact, if you get the early access version of the game, you can play it this evening at midnight. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Let's watch these reviews. Let's enjoy. Let's see what everyone's got to say about this. Starting with
trading small-town America for a 1960s rural Japan works
Rural
well
Japan?
for Silent
I didn't
Hill
know
F.
it took place there.
Recognizably the same brand of horror, this is still Silent Hill as you know it, from its twitchy body horror monster designs to how it blends literal frights with the psychological. The new setting allows for some gorgeous stomach-churning visuals, as the fight brings with it sprouting blood-red spider lilies that begin to take over the town, transforming it into something altogether fleshier. Beauty in terror is the pitch Konami gave for this revamp.
I like that word,
Silent Hill F nails the landing by whacking said nail with a hammer and watching it gush.
Oh god. The need to know.
So too do the fears of schoolgirl Hinako Shimazu. Dealing with the pressures of likewise encroaching womanhood provide new avenues of horror for the series to explore, blending those anxieties into a mix where you become uncertain of what's real and what isn't. We can see her have her first period. The unease dialing up to match and drilling down to the animal.
I don't know why I need to know that, but I'd like to know, do we see her have her first period?
The horror becoming manifest regardless. With well-realized themes that really stare down and wrestle with Hinako's trauma, plus terrific writing across cutscenes as well as heaps of lore notes, this is the best written Silent Hill has ever been. As Silent Hill's already given us some of the best horror games ever made, it's no small feat that Silent Hill F doesn't just live up to its legacy, but surpasses it. Standing on its own, Silent Hill F is a great place for newcomers to get into the series as well.
But does it have that same age-old plot?
It's a shame, then, that Silent Hill F has the most annoying combat.
Annoying?
I know. Silent Hill as a series has never had particularly good combat, but no entry has combat encounters at the forefront as much as Silent Hill F does. Almost every pickup, from restorative items to equipable Anamori charms, revolve around how they affect combat. From straightforward buffs to health, stamina, or sanity, to more complex effects like altering the properties of counterattacks, dodges, or your stun damage. The deeper you get into Silent Hill F, the more plentiful enemies become, throwing several combat gauntlets your way in the closing hours. Hinako can mash out combos of light and heavy attacks on the triggers. Hold another trigger and she can charge up her focus to deplete sanity and deliver an even stronger weapon-specific strike that has a degree of super armor. Though attacking uses up stamina, Hinako can perform a perfect dodge to twist out of the way of oncoming enemy attacks to restore it, continuing to bash out damage.
What about our grenade launcher?
Flashes with a chromatic aura, Hinako is able to rush towards them, stunning them with a counterattack and opening her foe up to
about a gun that shoots cats at the enemies?
And there's a lot of it to match. Completely melee focused with weapons that break after too much use, it feels like just about every close quarters combat mechanic you can think of is in here. Even in the best cases where I'm able to perform well in dicey dust-ups with the creepiest monsters,
we get a samurai
I can't help but feel the fighting system is simply over-engineered in a way that's counterintuitive to creating a horror atmosphere. When Hinako is able to perfectly pull off all the moves at her fingertips, she can feel almost comically unstoppable. But all too often, you definitely aren't. Fights are a little too clunky for that, leading to situations where multiple enemies descend on Hinako, and it ends up feeling more irritating than terrifying. Counterattack windows for enemies are few and far between, with the input for them, a heavy attack, often locking Hinako into a long, winding animation if you mistime it, meaning she's likely to just get pummeled. So often, in fact,
I like that word as well.
Frequent grab attacks wrestle control from you too, locking Hinako into a long recovery animation after the little scene plays out. A lot of attacks feel like they take control away from you in a way that's just frustrating. Later sections in the game often lampshade this a little bit by making combat a bit more responsive in certain sections only. An interesting juxtaposition, but not one that lessens how annoyed I sometimes felt getting corner stomped. You could try to
Corner
run.
stomped.
For about half of Silent Hill F, there's often a nice dynamic with picking your battles, but the game frequently has you in claustrophobic alleyways, small houses, or narrow mountain trails.
Yeah, it's in
where
the
you're
original
likely to
Silent
get
Hill
pinned
games, you can
against
just
the
run
wall.
past
Not to
everything,
mention quite a few
practically.
enemies are extremely fast in their pursuit of you, with attacks that cross vaster distances than you might expect.
Oh, she's got a
Getting them
knife
off your
here.
back can be a pain, especially as most enemies feel like massive damage sponges that take loads of hits to
I
fell.
demand a machine
Silent
gun.
Hill F defaults to suggesting you play with action difficulty set to story and puzzles set to hard. Oddly, there's only 3 difficulties at all: story, hard, and lost in fog, a sort of extreme mode. I played with the default settings for the most part, as I usually do, though I did try some action on hard as well, and it's playing on story that gave me all the above issues. I made it through without too much hassle, but squaring off against enemies is often just grueling, constantly trying to dodge out of the way to avoid being stun-locked by groups of foes, and mashing attack again and again and again. Oddly, boss fights completely avoid this feeling. While I had a tough time in my early hands-on a few months ago, they're now perfectly pitched. Those hulking foes have some truly gnarly standout designs that are
here we
series
go,
all-timers,
the boss fights.
with each one playing a major role in Hinako's emotional journey. From haunting dialogue that often occurs as flesh flies in these encounters, to the mechanics of how
But is it
each
going to be a
boss
rip-off of
attacks,
Silent
they
Hill
all
2 again?
contribute massively to the grander narrative. So
Has this little
why,
girl done
even
something?
on easier modes, do I enjoy these clashes with near eldritch-like nightmare boss enemies so much more than a couple of knife-limbed
These
mannequins
enemies are
in a
gross.
hallway? It feels like the tuning is simply off somewhere.
Bloody
And
gross.
yet, for as many times as I'll end up waiting for Hinako to recover from stun animations and going, golly, why does this have to be so annoying, I've never wanted to put the controller down and walk away. Silent Hill F is an intoxicating horror experience that I always want to dive back into. Even though I think the final few hours are drawn out and saturated with far too many enemies, I've already finished the game 3 times with no break in between.
Three
I'm not allowed to
times?
say much about subsequent playthroughs, nor would I want to spoil anything, but there's plenty more to unravel about Hinako's story post-credits, and no Silent Hill has felt as rewarding to revisit as this one. All roads in point right back to Hinako, and the way the 1960s Japan setting has stacked the odds against her for all her life.
I notice it's not
clear
really
that
talking
her
about
life
the
is one of
story,
many
probably
horrors,
wise.
even without all the fog and spider lilies added to the mix. Certain monster designs may be terrified to look at when first introduced, but as you learn more about them and piece together journal entries to learn what it is they truly represent, the implications make your stomach churn even more. Silent Hill F is fantastic at evolving
all
that
her
sense of
friends and
unease
family.
vagueness that so defined the series in the past, and matching it with really smart writing that knows just when to give you details and when to leave the player to fill in the blanks. Silent Hill F has the best capital W writing in the series to date, creating a dense weave of story across small digestible chunks you unravel as you explore. So too do the puzzles contribute, and they can get quite tricky. I played these on hard, which is, as I mentioned, weirdly the middle difficulty. Silent Hill F is usually paced out so different areas spotlight different styles of play more, and it's the slower, more exploration.
What the hell? Look at that
featuring
map!
More puzzles that I like the best. The school is a particular highlight, mixing together puzzle boxes, looking for keys, and unraveling a whole girl code to discover locker combinations. Narrative is entwined with puzzle design in Silent Hill F. Even more than
Still
in
haven't answered the
favourites like
question
Silent
if we
Hill
get
2
to
and
see her
Silent
have
Hill
her first
3.
period.
And in the school, that involves piecing together scraps of information about student drama, from souring friendships to budding relationships, or even the vice principal's hobbies, all while learning more about how the school
the
was
vice
founded
principal.
and the history of the town's experts.
I bet he's a sinister
Naturally,
character.
every part of Silent Hill F is a piece of a jigsaw, and those jigsaws, once completed, are bigger jigsaw pieces to an even larger jigsaw puzzle. And once you get a sense of what the jigsaw picture is, even with pieces still missing, you begin to feel a little unwell, which is why I'm a little disappointed that uneven combat encounter design threatens to pull me out of it.
Feel
and makes it
unwell?
hard to recommend for those who find the easiest setting too irritating to push through. Visually, Silent Hill F is stunning, from the uneasy beauty of a small town being choked by gorgeous red spider lilies.
It's
to
a very
gnarly
good-looking
monster designs
game.
that some of the best Japanese horror games have to offer. But that initial visual hit is just the start. The terror lying beneath the fog as you explore more about a world hostile to Hinako in every sense of the word, supernatural or otherwise, makes Silent Hill F even more horrifying. We give Silent Hill F 4 stars out of 5.
He didn't dislike it that
So,
much if you're
will
going to
you
give
be
it
playing
4
Silent Hill
stars.
F? Are you a returning fan or a total newcomer?
No, I'm
Let
a
us know
returning
and
fan,
stick
thank you
with
very
Games
much.
Radar for the biggest reviews of 2025.
Not bad. What we learned? Not a lot. He didn't talk about the story.
Creating small town America
Shut up.
for a 1960s.
He didn't talk about the story too much, which is probably a good thing. We don't want to know too much about the story. We don't want it to be spoiled. I did hear the game has a new game plus, which is a plus. To have new game plus. Always a plus. A plus plus. Anyway, next review. Gaming Boats.
Expectations are high for Silent Hill F, the latest entry in the horror franchise from Konami and Neobards Entertainment, especially given the critical and commercial success of last year's excellent Silent Hill 2 remake. In many ways, that release
That is, I'm not talking about Silent Hill, the short message.
While the recent successful launch of Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater further cemented the idea that the company has found its footing again. Whether Konami can maintain that consistency, however,
Well, maybe they'll give us a
now
Castlevania
depends on
game,
how well
goddammit.
Silent Hill F delivers. So, how good is it? That's what we're here to find out in this review of one of 2025's most anticipated
Right,
horror
get to it
games.
then.
Unlike most major entries in the series, Silent Hill F moves away from the titular town where the franchise has traditionally been set, instead taking players to the remote Japanese town of Ebisugaoka in the 1960s. During the pre-release period, the shift sparked plenty of speculation. If the game doesn't take place in Silent Hill, can it truly be considered a Silent Hill game?
That's a very good
There is some
question.
merit to that question, but to me, Silent Hill has always been about more than just its physical setting. It's defined by its narrative, its underlying themes, its music,
Well,
and its atmosphere. Judging a game
I don't
solely
know,
by
you
its
still have to,
location
if it's not
misses
going to
the
set it
point.
in the place,
And
you have to
once
link
you
it back
actually
to Silent Hill
experience Silent Hill
somehow
F,
with the
it
Carl
becomes
Tor.
clear. This
Alyssa.
is very much a Silent Hill game in both tone and theme. Inspired by Gifu Prefecture, Ebisugaoka is intricately crafted with painstaking attention to atmosphere, and yes, before you ask, it's drenched in fog. Plenty.
Of course it's drenched in fog, it has
Details
to be.
are
It's a bloody
immaculate,
Silent
with
Hill game,
pathways
goddammit.
deliberately designed to feel restrictive, creating a constant sense of being trapped in a prison with no escape. At times, the game induces genuine claustrophobia.
Doesn't look like any prison
as you
I've
fend
ever
off
seen.
Disturbing, creep-inducing monsters. More on those later. To me, Ebisugaoka felt like a maze, forcing players to either memorize its winding paths or constantly rely on the map.
I'm not
Just
memorizing
as in the
shit.
series'
Are you
early
kidding me? I'm
entries.
too old for all that.
Silent Hill F is unabashedly 100% Japanese horror, reflected not only in its setting, but also in the architecture, from schools to storefronts. The map design is intricate and deliberate, always demanding awareness and keeping players on edge as they push forward.
Does look good
Having
though.
played the Silent Hill 2 remake and some of the older entries, I can confidently say that Silent Hill F's map design ranks right up there with the series' very best. Silent Hill F's story is intriguing, to say the least. You play as Hinako Shimizu, a high school student confronting her own terrors, alongside a close group of friends.
I still want to know if she has a
By year
period or not.
7, the narrative doesn't shy away from disturbing themes, ranging from abuse and oppressive behavior towards women to the idea of finding beauty in terror, as the writer himself describes it. The horror here leans heavily into the psychological. Yes, there are jump scares sprinkled throughout.
Oh,
but
God.
what really unsettles is the atmosphere, the music, and the deliberate build-up to key climactic moments. Sure, you'll encounter grotesque monsters lunging at you and strange abominations pursuing you through alleyways, but the real fear stems from something deeper. From my experience, the writing and story feel right on point, making Silent Hill F a tense, unsettling, and consistently edge-of-your-seat narrative experience.
I'll be the judge of that, thank you very much.
If it's a Silent Hill game, it has to be backed by excellent sound design and music,
Right.
Well, if the Silent Hill 2 remake was anything to go by, then you'll be pretty pleased with what the developers have done in Silent Hill F. Led by the trio of Akira Yamaoka, Kensuke Inagidai, and Koichi Shakisakita, the audibles here are absolute belters. It's genuinely scary, the way that the music kicks in when a monster approaches, whether you're taking them on or running away. And even the small atmospheric
I will be running
touches,
away from
like
nothing.
the sound of objects falling or the crittering noises monsters make as they move, it's all hair-raisingly creepy. Even the monsters' sounds, from their roars to the cries they make when hurt, are crafted with extreme finesse and care. The music and sound effects, combined with the level design, stand out as some of the biggest highlights of the Silent Hill F experience. Much praise should also be given to the voice actors, who do an excellent job bringing the characters to life. The way they build suspense.
Better have English voice acting.
From fear to excitement, the kind that you'd expect from high school students is faithfully recreated here. The English cast delivers strong performances,
Excellent.
continuing the high standards set in Silent Hill 2. That said, special mention must also go to the Japanese voice acting. I experienced it briefly, and I can easily
Well, I will
see
not
myself
be
doing a
playing it
full
with that
playthrough
voice
in mode
acting.
in the future.
Sorry.
Given how deeply the game is rooted in its Japanese setting, it might even be the ideal way to experience it. Overall,
No.
the voice work is elegant yet sublime and stays true to the ethos of
Ideal
Silent
is
Hill.
that I don't have to sit and read subtitles for the whole
Running
bloody
on
game.
Unreal Engine 5, Silent Hill F easily stands as one of 2025's most visually striking games. It doesn't completely overshadow Silent Hill 2 Remake, but there are clear improvements in character rendering and animation, particularly in the cutscenes where expressions and movement feel more lifelike. I've already touched on the game's atmosphere, but it deserves another mention. Texture work is excellent, volumetric effects are beautifully executed, and the lighting is spot on.
I don't give a shit about
creating a world that is
volumetric
visually
effects.
rich, yet relentlessly oppressive. And then there are the boss designs, which are genuine works of art, though art in the most nightmarish sense possible. From twisted
But is it the
human
kind of
bodies
work of
seemingly
art you're
stitched
gonna wanna
back
hang in
together
your
to
toilets?
grotesque amalgamations
That's
of
the real
rock flesh and
question.
Flowers. They're the kind of creations you almost wish you hadn't seen. On the technical side, performance was surprisingly stable throughout my experience. With Unreal Engine 5 often associated with messy launches lately, Silent Hill F running smoothly is in itself a major win. Now, let's shift to the core of the Silent Hill F experience: the combat. There's been plenty of discourse around its so-called Souls-like approach, but let's clear that up right away. This is not a Souls-like, even if it appears to borrow several elements from the genre.
It does appear to borrow
Combat
them.
here is primarily melee-focused, built around a mix of dodging,
Just like in a
countering, and
Souls-like.
striking with makeshift weapons like iron pipes and daggers.
I still want a
As
goddamn
the
machine
horrors
gun.
of Ebisugaoka. Counters play a role, and the sanity meter can be used to slow down time and enter focus mode, giving you a better read on enemy patterns. All of
Sanity
this plays
meter?
out while keeping an eye on your stamina bar, and with the weapons carrying durability.
I don't want no
meters,
goddamn stamina bar.
Use will eventually leave you scrambling for replacements. On paper, the systems work well enough. The protagonist isn't a superhero, nor an adult like James from Silent Hill 2, who's better equipped.
She's not a
to handle
superhero, then
himself
what's
in
this
such
outfit
nightmare
she's wearing?
circumstances.
Looks
So
like a
certain
superhero
level of
costume to
awkwardness in
me.
Your combat feels fitting. The problem, however, lies elsewhere.
That's a big fat monster.
The weight of your strikes doesn't always come through, and the feedback from landing blows feels muted. Some, not all, of the combat animations also carry a noticeable jank. Also, the game did feel a tad easier when experienced on story mode, so I'd recommend turning the action difficulty up to hard mode just for a more rewarding balance.
Oh, eat
Overall,
my ass. I'll
combat
be
is
not
serviceable,
turn it
and
up to
gets the
hard
job
mode.
done,
Give me a
but it
break.
falls short of being as refined
Don't
or
tell me how to
satisfying
play
as
the
it could have
game.
been. This relatively straightforward combat system is supported by a more engaging progression layer, one that actively encourages exploration and rewards it by gradually making your character stronger. The game offers a wide variety of consumables and collectibles which can be sold to earn in-game currency. That currency can
What
then
about
be spent on
plushies? Can we
permanent
find
upgrades or
plushies?
buffs. Things like
What about
increased
adult
stamina or
magazines?
even
Can we
reducing
find them
enemy
too?
sight range. Importantly, these items aren't scattered
Answer
in
me!
abundance, so it's not as if your character will become overpowered. This creates an effective risk versus reward dynamic. The more you dare to explore, the more items you uncover, and in turn, the more currency you can gather to strengthen yourself. The
Obviously.
series has always prided itself on going beyond the usual go from point A to point B puzzle design, and I'm glad to see that tradition continue here. You'll encounter puzzles that genuinely push you to fine-tune your thinking, whether it's carefully observing scarecrows, decoding cryptic codes, or searching for keys.
That's what
while a
online
terrifying
guides are
enemy
for,
stalks you in the
dickhead.
background. They're thoughtfully designed, adding tension and variety to the experience, and if you can't crack them quickly, expect to spend a fair bit of time wrestling with their solutions.
I'll just
So
use
to wrap
online
it up,
guides for
Silent
that.
Hill F feels like a step in the
Ha ha.
right direction for the series. It gets so many things right, even if I wish some of the combat mechanics and animations had been refined further. What's here, though, is still a solid and
Looks
compelling
splendid.
package. At the start of this review, I mentioned that Konami's ability to remain consistent would hinge on how Silent Hill F turned out. Well, based on my experience,
9
I'd
out
say
of
the
10.
publisher may
Splendid.
finally have found a winning formula.
Well, I give it a 9 out of
Still
10.
needs polish in places, but points firmly towards a promising future for Silent Hill. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Bolt upload new videos every day?
No, don't give a
Stick around,
shit.
Drop a like, subscribe, and hit.
There's a second review. Covered a couple of things we didn't hear in the first review. I'm liking what I'm hearing. Combat, well, you know, I've played plenty of games of janky combat. That's probably not going to be an issue for me. I guess we'll find out when I pick the game up. Next review.
If you take nothing else from me today, just take these 3 words.
Okay.
Stick with it.
Stick with
If
it.
you'd sidled up to me halfway through Silent Hill F, I probably would have dropped my voice and advised you to wait for a sale. The
Ooh.
whiny teenage angst is winding me up and is also more than faintly reminiscent of Silent Hill's free teaser, The Short Message.
Ah, finally
For
someone
half hour,
mentioned
I've
the
been
short
unsuccessfully
message.
playing inventory management sim, spent an embarrassing amount of time lost in a field, and I still can't really work out what the hell is going on.
Oh.
The, also embarrassing, time I've spent wandering through the misty streets of Silent Hill over the years is seemingly of no benefit here either. In fact, if it wasn't for Akira Yamaoka et al.'s score, which is less recognisably Silent Hill than I've ever heard before, I wouldn't have thought Silent Hill F was a Silent Hill game at all.
Oh.
Which is kind of weird, you know.
This
for
has started off a bit
Silent
negative.
Hill game. I don't say that to be difficult. I'm not the fan who only ever wants Silent Hill 2 over and over again, although, let's face it, remake was exquisite. I don't automatically despise anything that's been made by a Western studio, but I also don't blindly accept that everything with Silent Hill on the cover is any good either. Sorry, Ascension. So, I came into Silent Hill F cautious, but optimistic.
Hey, I like
But
Silent Hill
first, some
Ascension. Give me a
context.
break.
Silent Hill F places us in the neat school shoes of teenager Hinako. For reasons that may or may not be explained later, her provincial town, Ebisugaoka, is suddenly submerged into a mysterious fog. The pavements bubble and blister.
I hope it is
with
explained.
strange
I want to know how
flora,
this links to
and
Silent Hill.
sinewy strings hang from rooftops like macabre bunting. Unidentifiable fleshy lumps sit about all haphazard and bloody, as though discarded by a lazy butchering the sky, but it's the flowers you need to look out for. One wrong step and something will curl around your ankle. and
Flowers
you'll
were a
be
big part of the
trypophobia
short
triggering
message.
Plant food before you know it. But none of that is as upsetting as the bloated corpses and twisted marionettes and more, oh so much more, that lie in wait across the village.
Oh,
It's
God.
hard to know what's worse for our Hinako, the deadly denizens or the societal expectations of a teenage girl in 1960s Japan. But man, those first few hours, people keep doing and saying dumb stuff. The dialogue, teenagery and cringy, is not convincing, and why on earth Hinako and her pals don't link arms to ensure they stop losing each other in the fog is beyond me. I'd kept myself gloriously spoiler-free coming in, which means I was
Well, that's
less
what I'm trying to
prepared
do.
than some for the wild tangents developer Neobard's takes from expected Silent Hill norms. But even the otherworld is otherworldy in a way I absolutely did not expect. Which
Oh.
is again, well, strange. Because if it doesn't look like a Silent Hill game and doesn't play like a Silent Hill game, and only sometimes sounds like a Silent Hill game, then is it really a Silent Hill game at all?
That's a good
And then
question.
It all just clicked. Not the combat, mind you. I still don't like it. You'll have heard some compare it to that of Souls-like games, which
The combat
isn't
seems to be
quite
the theme
right.
here. People don't
You'll
really
spend
like
with
it.
a pipe or a bat or a sledgehammer in your hand that takes forever to swing, even if you commit to the ostensibly quicker light attacks. The more you attack, the faster you'll deplete your sad little stamina bar. The more you draw on your focus, which is exactly what it says on the tin, a powered up focused attack, the quicker you'll lose your sanity. It's all pretty standard fare, and I did acclimate to the recommended story difficulty, but I never quite enjoyed it, I'm afraid.
Oh
By the
dear.
time I've finished, though, I'm pretty sure that's more a consequence of the degradable weapons than the combat system itself. I've spent a good chunk of my life in horror games and know there's a constant tension between feeling fearful and carefree, which inevitably requires
I still think we
the
should have a
need to
machine
ration
gun.
health items and weapons, as well as liberally deploying run away,
Or
run
at least a
away
pistol. I'll take a pistol.
And while this is fine when you're, say, fighting enemies outside, when you're indoors or in a tight alleyway, it becomes much harder to do that.
Oh dear.
The more you fight, the faster you'll exhaust your piddly collection of weapons. You'll only ever be able to carry 3, along with a handful of toolkits to sort of repair them. Which means there were a good 15-minute segments where I had no weapon at all, leaving me with absolutely no way to defend myself other than to dodge myself dizzy and hope I make it out alive.
Oh god.
Nico wouldn't even raise a fist. Your frustration levels may vary depending on how much time you spend with Souls-like games, but for me, Silent Hill F's combat isn't challenging as much as it's clunky. I had attacks phase through targets without a dent, dodges not dodge, and
Oh
never
dear.
seemed to have enough bloody stamina, even
Combat-
by the endgame. And when she comes out of a dodge, Hinako stands there until you remind her that she's supposed to be running for her life. It becomes a self-defeating move, often leaving
Combat
you
seems
wide
to be the
open for
recurring
deadly
theme here of
control.
negative.
The most grievous crime, though, as a long-time Silent Hill fan, it's extraordinarily difficult to do any real exploration of the world. The grim cocktail of clumsy combat, degradable weapons, and ferocious enemies makes it extraordinarily difficult to do so.
Oh dear.
That said, about halfway through, you'll land yourself an otherworldly upgrade of sorts. Even if I could tell you about it, I wouldn't, but I will admit that it brought a new twist to combat that I was not expecting, but was very happy to have. Let's leave
Okay.
it at that. As
What
for
does
the
that
enemy
mean?
You'll find yourself fighting more than any other, the one you'll never quite get under control, your inventory. There are 3 things you can do when you reach a shrine: save, enshrine, and pray. The latter 2 ostensibly allow you to upgrade your health, stamina, and sanity bars, although doing so requires you to sacrifice the meagre collection of goodies you've amassed as offerings, or locate one of the vanishingly few Emmas found secreted across the game.
Okay.
Initially, I felt as though I'd never have enough items to sacrifice to build up my faith deposit, the closest thing the game has to a currency, and later I'd amassed loads of faith but must have missed some Emmas, so I couldn't upgrade anything. Oh well. You can also utilise a pool of passive skills in the form of Omemories that you pick up along the way. Although I have very little else to say on that, given I barely touched them after finding one that helped to boost Hinako's stamina a bit. I don't think I'd care as much about Hinako's tight inventory if we were able to pick and choose what we take and what we leave behind, but switch a bandage.
Well,
to
in the
make
other
use
Silent
of
Hill
a
games, you
safe
can have an
kit,
unlimited
and
inventory,
that
if I
bandage will
recall.
be gone forever. And sure, some stuff
that's a bit
stacks,
crap.
but many others do not. So it's partially galling that you have to make room in your minuscule inventory for the aforementioned offerings too. I can't even tell you what they all do either. You can recover health, sanity, and stamina in different amounts and ways. Some of it is pretty self-explanatory, bandages, first aid kits, and so on, whereas the rest, such as Divine Water, fully restores max sanity and reduces sanity drain for a bit, Ramune greatly restores max sanity,
Okay.
Arare slightly restores health but the effect increases when used continuously, are more difficult to keep track of at the best of times. At their worst, say when you're in the heat of battle and your pop-up inventory
Red
only shows you a
capsules.
tiny icon, they're infuriating. And yet, there I was, teeth clenched, beating a bulbous something, I don't even know how to describe it, to death with a crowbar, absolutely hell-bent on seeing this through to the end. I had to see it through. Hinako's story took a wild pivot the moment I realised what was happening in her otherworld.
Oh.
Halfway through this bewildering adventure, I realised how stupid I'd been for chalking this up to nothing more than a teen drama with a Silent Hill logo slapped on top of it.
Okay.
Yes, Silent Hill F deliberately sidesteps
definitely
much
intrigued.
of what makes Silent Hill games Silent Hill. There's no torch, no radio static, not even any rust, but that doesn't mean it's a misstep. Its world is still tense and atmospheric. The monsters delight and disgust in equal measure. The ambient sounds are genuinely terrifying. It's not the same as Silent Hill 2 Remake, no, and I don't think it's as scary, but it's every bit as unsettling, believe me. It's almost as though the second half of the game is your reward for getting through the first. Whereas other Silent Hill games have essentially presented a Western idea of...
I don't know, I think I'd prefer a
Silent
machine
Hill
gun
F
as a reward.
unapologetically embraces its roots.
I know I'm harping on about that, but still.
There was a gun on my head, and that's coming from someone well acquainted with Asian horror. Hinako's otherworld may not look like any other world we've seen before, given the rusty fences and blood-smeared grates have been replaced by dark temples and shrines, but it feels every bit as foreboding. Slowly, methodically, you'll piece together what exactly brought Hinako to this place, and over a number of otherworldly visits do not include degradable weapons, thank God, you'll learn things about her you may never have suspected, and even more about what she's prepared to sacrifice, both literally and figuratively. Whereas other Silent Hill games have essentially presented a Western idea of horror, Silent Hill F unapologetically embraces its roots in ways I could not even imagine. And it's here, in the unmentionable and often indescribable parts of Silent Hill F, that writer Ryu Kishio7's profoundly unsettling story really shines. So while no, this doesn't negate the clumsy combat per se, it makes the first half slog more than worth it. Plus, it's a beautiful place when it's not scaring the bejesus out of you, rich with detail and interest. There's a fair bit
I'm very intrigued about the story. I'm glad, but not revealing too much.
Inventory that much more of an issue. A number of times I cleared a place out and discarded an item to make room for another, thinking I'd never be there again, only to return 2 hours later and could have desperately done with it. But you'll get to poke about in all kinds of places across the town, even if you're
interesting. No one's talking about length.
off the beaten path. And in keeping with its predecessors, Silent Hill F is not overt with its messaging, which means you should make a point of scouring for discarded notes and checking in with Hinako's journal as you meander across town. Talking of Hinako's journal, it's a lifeline when it comes to Silent Hill F's puzzles. I played on hard, the recommended setting for
I'm not playing on puzzle difficulty hard. Give me a break.
And found all but one early scary, crow, if you know, you know, puzzle a breeze, thanks to the copious notes Hinako jots down as she goes. The environmental puzzling was tougher. Figure out how to get here, do that, now go there, etc, etc. But, again, not overly taxing, making it probably one of the easiest Silent Hill games thus far in respect. It's not the puzzles that are going to make or break Silent Hill F though, it'll be that combat. I stand here as someone with average-ish dexterity.
Are you standing while recording this review?
Deep hatred of boss fights.
That's
so
exhausting.
I like to think that if I can get through it, most of the series' older fans should cope okay too, despite the surprising decision to omit an easy mode. For different reasons, the story, and several of its gobsmacking cinematic sequences, similarly requires a strong stomach. Silent Hill has never shied away from mature and complex themes, so it may be prudent to note the content warning when you boot up. To that end, it advises there'll be depictions of gender discrimination, child abuse, bullying, drug-induced hallucinations, torture, and graphic violence.
Oh my.
And boy, do they deliver on that.
They happen to be all the things I'm very attracted to.
Not listed in the content warning, but will absolutely be a deal breaker for some. Proceed with caution. There's more I want to tell you, of course. Loads, actually, although I'm not convinced you'd believe half of what I witnessed in the 12-ish hours it took to reach the end.
Finally, right, someone mentioned length, 12 hours.
The multiple endings, but even if Konami's barbed wire-laden embargo wasn't preventing me from telling you more, I wouldn't want to spoil the surprise anyway. You really should experience Silent Hill F's final act for yourself. And given that, I'll conclude as I started, and leave you 3 more words to take away. Don't watch anymore. If this has left you curious, close this tab.
Don't watch
avoid
anymore.
social media and further reviews or streams, and let yourself experience Silent Hill F firsthand. You'll either thank me for it or hate me for it, but either way, you'll have a hell of a time.
I might be indifferent
That is
towards you.
Eurogamer's Silent Hill F review. If you're thinking of buying the game, or if you've already been playing it, let me know in the comments below what you think of it so far. I absolutely love it, but do agree with Vicky's analysis of the combat and how clunky it feels. If you want to hear more from Silent Hill F, in particular some lore videos I'm working
Well,
on.
if you want to hear more from Silent Hill F, then come and watch my review and watch my full playthrough. I'm going to play through the whole thing in one sitting. So there. That's my advertisement. Next review.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. I see
Silent
its
Hill.
drenched foothills and derelict buildings. I see its dead-end alleys and blank-faced inhabitants. And though it's not the same
Are you reading from
haunt
Silent
that
Hill 2,
snared
goddammit?
Harry, Heather, James, and the others, the same town that siren song broke many a man while simultaneously.
I really
building
want to
one of
know
the
how it
most
links to
iconic
Silent
board
Hill.
game franchises in
It
existence.
has to have a link.
Silent Hill F's Ebisugaoka is still a place that demands your attention. A place that once you're there, you never truly leave. Or perhaps more aptly, it never leaves you. The same can be said for Silent Hill F itself, although the game distances itself
does
from
the F
previous
stand
entries in
for?
the series, most notably by trading its Lynchian meets Boschian ambience and small-town America setting in favor of slow-burning Japanese horror and the humid foothills
I
of
know
Honshu.
what it stands
its overall
for.
experience
First,
is every bit as memorable
maybe.
as those offered by its predecessors.
It's going to be a prequel.
And yet, Silent Hill F is not merely a somewhat divergent continuation of a beloved series. It's an evolution, offering several gameplay improvements.
Is
while
it
also
going to be a
paving new
prequel?
path forward. With its brilliant writing, well-designed and strategic gameplay, engaging combat, and spectacular visuals, Silent Hill F firmly establishes itself as a phenomenal work of psychological horror, and among the best entries in the Silent Hill series.
咲くことの約束
Maybe it stands for finale. Maybe it's like an epilogue to the first game. I don't know.
Though Silent Hill F's setting is, to be cliche, very nearly a character in itself, at the center of the game's story is Shimizu Hinako, a young
Ooh.
high school student who is
Oh, huh.
violently thrust into a disturbing version of her hometown. In the game's opening moments, it's made clear that Hinako's relationships are rife with tension. As a young woman growing up in the late 1960s, much of this tension stems from her resistance towards being a proper young woman.
Oh, that looks like an
Much to
adult
her parents'
magazine.
dismay. In
Finally.
her journal, she writes that her father is the very definition of patriarchal husband.
Oh, dear.
Demanding, severe, and domineering, while her mother is passive to the point of cowardice. For a long time, Hinako's
You're a
older
coward,
sister,
woman.
Junko, was the only person she could rely on for companionship and protection. This changed, however, once Junko got married and left home, leaving Hinako alone and drowning in resentment. The events of Silent Hill F kick off shortly after yet another fight at home. Following the argument, Hinako leaves to find
Okay.
someone.
Well, she's giving a bit
anyone
more
whom she can
detail
talk
about the
to.
story that
As
I
she
don't
makes her way
need.
through the eerily quiet Ebisugaoka, we are introduced to her 3 closest friends, Sakuko, Rinko, and Shu. In typical teenage fashion, Hinako's relationship
Shu
with
is
these
wearing
3 have an
shoes.
underlying sense of
What a
unease, though it's
coincidence.
not immediately clear why. And yet, teenage drama quickly becomes the least of her concerns, as a fog-shrouded monster begins to hunt her down, leaving flesh-devouring spider
Don't give away
lilies,
the whole
chrysanthemums,
opening,
and
goddammit.
red streams of rot in its wake.
I hate it when people do that. Don't give
Hinako
away.
is then forced to navigate the narrow alleyways and abandoned buildings of Ebisugaoka as she attempts to avoid the infestation and the grotesque creatures who accompany it. Still, this is only half of the harrowing experience Hinako endures. At certain points throughout the game, Hinako is thrust into a spirit realm in which a disarming young man referred to as Foxmask guides her
No,
through
you
strange
don't have to
temples and
give
dark
shit like that
rituals.
away.
Though this premise is plenty peculiar, Silent Hill F is in some ways a bit more straightforward than
Just say
previous
she
Silent
gets
Hill
teleported
titles.
to another
Well,
realm.
at first
There,
anyway.
you don't have to
At the very
mention the
least,
Fox
it's
Mask
not
character.
quite
I
as
didn't even know that was his
uncanny.
name.
Rather than stumbling into suffering strangers who speak in riddles, Silent Hill F uses those closest to Hinako to heighten intrigue
He's got a
and
baseball
tension,
bat.
to alarm and unease. Whereas previous Silent Hill games always felt a bit like David Lynch's take on a Bosch painting, alienating, dreamlike, and horrifying, Silent Hill F feels more like a collaboration between surrealist filmmaker Satoshi Kon and horror manga legend Junji Ito. Of course, I wouldn't dare say one is better than the other, even if my personal preferences do skew towards the latter. But I will say that Silent Hill F moved, unsettled, and
I think the big clue's gonna be in what the F stands
regardless
for.
of whether Hinako is trudging through rice fields, roaming the halls of her former middle school, or traipsing alongside Foxmask in the spirit realm, the world of Silent Hill F is stunning and atmospheric. Though I've never been to Kanamayama, the real-life Japanese town that inspired Silent Hill F's
What a coincidence, neither have I. The viewers pay for me to go there.
Konami managed to replicate a rural Japanese town. I certainly won't claim to be an arbiter of authenticity, but as I wove through alleys and watched concrete and chain link give way to worn wood homes and dampened dirt paths, I was reminded of the time I've spent near Nagano, or south of Osaka, places where nature and culture coexist in such a surreal but beautiful way. The spirit realm, on the other hand, feels appropriately unknowable, steeped in history and reverence. When you walk through its temple halls, it feels as though the world should be this eerily quiet, ultimately making the rattling chains of four-legged enemies, chattering of dolls, and Akira Yamaoka's phenomenal compositions all the more impactful.
He must hear horror music in his sleep,
composer
that guy.
Yamaoka returns for Silent Hill F, and while he naturally retains his ability to build tension at the drop of a hat, Silent Hill F also might just show off how beautiful and consuming his work can be as well. I was impressed by how he makes Silent Hill F still sound like a Silent Hill game, while also giving it its own identity and celebrating its new setting, placing traditional Japanese instrumentation, guttural singing, and haunting choirs alongside his signature industrial sound.
That sounds like Silent Hill music. Absolutely.
Yet fidelity and sound aren't all that contribute to how artistically profound Silent Hill F is. Among the more crucial elements are the game's haunting visuals and nightmarish creatures, both of which disturb as much as they fascinate, and accomplish the game's mission of exploring the space where the gorgeous and the grotesque meet. Boss designs are consistently remarkable,
drawing this bloody boss.
Japanese attire, weaponry, and folklore to elevate them. While your standard enemies, from hewn mannequins to feminine monstrosities whose bodies are covered in pulsing pregnant bellies, are every bit as unsettling. More important than being both visually and audibly remarkable, however, is how Silent Hill F's locations serve the game's narrative and themes. If we are to view the locations these protagonists explore as metaphors for the human psyche, I can't imagine a more suitable world than the one crafted here. Ebe Sugaoka's alleys cut through the town like neural pathways, twisting, turning, connecting, and coming to abrupt halts. Both the town and the spirit realm disorient as much as they dazzle.
I just hope we get that all-inclusive hint or link
They also
to
revel in contradiction.
either the
Throughout
cult
the game,
or
with
Alyssa
gorgeous
or...
grotesquerie as flowers and gore consume the town in equal measure, we stumble across sacred places that feel utterly profane.
Howdy.
And watch as the supernatural
Anything.
and
I'll take anything.
otherworldly collide with the lush and natural. Much like Hinako and Silent Hill F itself,
But
this
it
world
must
is
link.
not meant to be entirely understood. Naturally, this sense of mystery also heightens one of the Silent Hill series' most notable features: its puzzles. Throughout Silent Hill F, there are roughly a dozen puzzles to solve, with a particularly important one sprawling across the entire game and requiring at least one playthrough to be completed before you can even start it. Others are more straightforward and task you with things like deciphering a coded language, finding and correctly placing medallions, or navigating complex hallways by pulling levers to open and close doors. By and large, these puzzles are all engaging and just the right level of difficulty on the game's hard mode. After completing the game once, you'll also gain the Lost in the Fog difficulty, which adds a bit more of a challenge. Though admittedly, I didn't find it to be too much of a jump. That said, one or two of these puzzles stand out as being far less enjoyable and more convoluted than the others.
Let's try and remember the code.
Dragging on a bit too long for my liking and
Didn't share
resulting
the
in them
code you typed
facing
in.
off against a grating number of enemies. Fortunately, Silent Hill F alleviates some of these annoyances with remarkably fun close-quarters combat. Compared to previous entries in the series, Silent Hill F is more action-oriented, relying on executing perfect dodges and parrying at the correct time to dish out damage to enemies. Though the studio has shied away from comparisons to Souls-likes, there is an undeniably familiar feeling as you bounce back and forth between light and heavy attacks before quickly dodging out of harm's way. And whereas
Looks
some
like a
horror
bloody
games
Souls-like to
stumble
me.
when they lean too far into action, Silent Hill F manages to do so to great success, creating a fluid and engaging system that enhances the game rather than detracts from it. That said, it's not perfect. At times I felt enemies were not quite as responsive to my attacks as I wished and lacked proper feedback. Other times I
This is
found
why we need
myself
a machine
bit
gun. I know I
frustrated by
mentioned
how
it
the
about
game's
100
tight
times, but
corridors,
goddammit, we need a
quickly
machine
depleted
gun.
stamina bar and imperfect controls created situations
I don't care
where
whether
I
it
was
would fit or
unable to
not.
do anything as an enemy continuously wailed on me.
Oh, God. Get that bastard away from that. Oh,
This didn't
God.
happen too often though, and considering horror games aren't usually known for having particularly jaw-dropping combat, I didn't mind those few moments of unreliability and overwhelm. In some regards, it served as a reminder that Hinako is just a high school girl, not a military-trained operative
is
you might
she,
find
though?
in Resident Evil 3's Raccoon City. And while combat is more fluid than ever, this doesn't necessarily mean
God,
that it is
look at the
easy
amount of
or that
them.
you should engage with every enemy you encounter. Keeping in line with former Silent Hill games, there is no real incentive
It's got
for
an
you to
axe
take on
here.
enemies you're not required to kill to progress. No items are dropped, and no experience is given. In fact, choosing to do so can come at a detriment, as combat can be quite challenging and will just about always cost you more resources than you net, including your weapons. Yes, in addition to your health,
that's it.
stamina,
Run
and
past
sanity,
everything.
you'll want to pay attention to your weapon's durability as you play, as weapon degradation is back. While this might sound like a lot
I
to
hate
monitor,
weapon
in
degradation.
execution, I find it works extremely well and greatly heightens the stakes and the sense that Hinako's survival must be won. In addition to weapon degradation, Silent Hill F's permanent upgrade system also adds another layer of strategy and resource management. Throughout Ibisukuoka and the Spirit Realm are shrines Hinako can visit to enshrine objects.
Reminds me of bloody
including some
Neo.
of those that are used to heal
I don't like
or
Neo.
regenerate sanity and stamina. Enshrining an object converts it into faith, which
Neo
can
can
then
kiss
be
my
used
ass.
to draw an omamori, a talisman
Trinity
granting
too.
Hinako a random boon, or
See
to
what I did
permanently
there?
upgrade one of her
Ha
stats.
ha, so clever.
Trading in your items for upgrades is made even more tempting by the fact that both Hinako's stat upgrades and omamoris carry over to New Game Plus, greatly heightening their usefulness in making subsequent
I will definitely be
playthroughs
playing
easier.
New Game
And while
Plus.
you might not typically be the type to replay a game on New Game Plus, Silent Hill F makes an extremely compelling case to reconsider your stance. Although a playthrough of Silent Hill F takes around 10 hours to complete, you'd be remiss to call it a 10-hour-long game. Within the game, there are 5 endings, one of which you are locked into the first time you play, and it was only after unlocking 2 of them that I began to feel as though I somewhat understood what was happening to Hinako in her hometown.
Oh, God, you gotta
began
play
to
through it
grasp
twice.
that each playthrough should not be viewed as a separate experience, but as part of a whole. As such, playing through Silent Hill F multiple times feels absolutely essential to the overall experience. For those of you who are familiar with the game's writer, Ryuki Shio7, this might come as no surprise, as his other works are known for doing precisely this and often use their first ending to raise questions rather than answer them.
Oh,
Silent Hill
I
F
see.
is no exception. Thankfully, fantastic gameplay, the ability to skip old cutscenes, plenty of new content.
I'm not
each
skipping any
playthrough,
cutscenes.
and
I hate doing
dramatically
that.
Different endings, complete with different bosses, make playing through the
Different
game
bosses.
multiple times
Ah,
an
you
exciting
soaked me.
prospect.
You soaked me.
Yet the most compelling reason to replay Silent Hill F is simply to experience every bit of its brilliant, horrifying, and oftentimes deeply cathartic story. Though I won't dive too deep into the ideas and themes of the game in order to preserve the experience for others, suffice to say I was blown away by the mastery in which Silent Hill F explores gender roles, agency, isolation, identity, relationships, and womanhood, as well as by the way it perfectly balances clarity and ambiguity to create something profound and reflective. Among AAA titles, there are few games that dare broach the same topics that developer Neobard's Entertainment does in this title, and far fewer that handle them with even close to the same amount of grace, nuance, and conviction. Perhaps this
I just
isn't
hope it's got some really
surprising
good
considering
twists.
that nearly every part of Silent Hill F is crafted with the same level
And how
of
it links
care
to Silent
and
Hill.
skill. And yet, that doesn't make anything about this game and what Neil Bard's Entertainment has achieved with it any less impressive. Silent Hill F is not just a return to form, it's a remarkable evolution. It's a visual spectacle, a mastercraft in psychological horror, a work of narrative brilliance, and a new benchmark for the Silent Hill series.
Oh, splendid. 9. Haven't seen any 10s, but that's fine. I'll take a 9. 4 out of 5, 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. No, thank you for contributing to my beloved video. That's your main purpose here.
In my restless
No.
dreams, I see.
So, don't know about you, but I'm definitely intrigued about this game. I cannot wait to get it started. What have we learned? Combat can be crap. Story can be fake. Must replay game several times. Monsters, of course. Fog. Doesn't link to the original Silent Hill. I guess the only way to find that out is either to go look up spoilers or play the game for ourselves. And I will be playing the game for myself. In fact, I'll be playing the game at midnight. I hope to see all of you there. And I'm going to attempt to play the game in one sitting. The first playthrough. Not unless the first playthrough only takes me a couple of hours. Then I might go into New Game Plus. I doubt it though. They said 10, 12 hours. Let's see how accurate that is. So, did you enjoy this little reaction to the Silent Hill F reviews? Well, a couple of them anyway. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, well, you can feel free to give me a thumbs down. But please remember the single most important thing I always tell you, dear viewer, and that is to always stay obsessed with gaming. Are you still here? Oh. You must have really enjoyed this video then. In that case, you had better subscribe to the channel and check out our other content. Otherwise, you're a booby pants, and no one wants to be a booby pants.